All right. How does this sound? Can you guys hear me okay? Testing. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm not sure what the lag is between my speaking and you receiving this. All right, we've got one confirmation, so we are gonna go live. All right, welcome everyone to the first Automate All the Things live stream, where we're gonna be building a event management app without code. So, maybe just start out with a little bit about myself and why I'm doing this, and then I'll kind of turn to you guys and understand why you're here. So my name is Aron. I'm the founder, I guess, of Automate All the Things. Just love building applications with no code. And I'm also the creator of the Essential Guide to Airtable, which I launched on Udemy earlier this year. And really my goal is just to show you what's possible with the tools out there. I think we're at a tipping point when it comes to no code applications, and it's pretty crazy what you're able to do. But I think there's a huge gap between the education and people actually learning about no code. So this is really kind of filling that gap, and I'm happy to have some fellow no code lovers in the chat. So with that said, there's a little bit of a lag, so I'll try to manage that best I can. But tell me, who you are, where you're from, how you actually got here, and throughout, I'll kind of check in on you guys and make sure to get your feedback as to what I'm building. So Nelson, yes, I am going to the No Code conference. It's gonna be good to see what other people are doing with Webflow and others. So while the kind of lag goes through here, I want to introduce what we're going to be building today. So this is my little roadmap. If I ever get lost, I'm going to be coming back to this. So we're building a no-code version of Eventbrite. So what that means is we want to kind of replicate the functionality and the look of this page using Webflow, Zapier, and Airtable. So we are going to lose some functionality, but we're going to get about 90% of the way there, just with a few tools in about an hour. That's cool, Adam. I'm actually from Montreal, so we've got a little Canadian connection. And I imagine, Nelson, you're going to be joining the No Code conference. I have no doubt about that. Cool. So we're gonna kind of just looking through this. This is an event I went to a couple weeks ago, and we've got a header. We've got 3 events. We've got a split between upcoming events, things that are going to happen, and then past events. We're going to try to tackle that. We're really going to build upcoming events today. And whenever I click on one, I get additional information, and there's quite a few steps to actually getting to the event, which we're going to shortcut using Airtable. But I've got information. For some reason, this switches to French. Apologies for that. And then I get a ticket. And then there's a bunch of information that I need to fill out before I get my ticket. So this is kind of the flow that we want to build, but we really want to build it in one step using Webflow and Airtable, and Zapier will be the glue between those two things. So as I'm getting into it, I'd love to know what level people are in terms of no-code tools. So if I'm either going too quickly or too slowly, just let me know in the chat. And if there's ever anything I'm saying that makes absolutely no sense, just let me know in the chat. So let's get started. I'm going to quit this, let's close this. All right, let's get back to our roadmap. So first thing we're going to do is set up Airtable. So Airtable is going to be our database of attendees. So that's we're going to have the email, the name, all of the information about each one of our attendees, and it's also going to be our form. So we're going to embed a form in Airtable into Webflow, so that way we don't need to manage any kind of form software. That's automatically done in Airtable. So first step, create the Airtable base. So I don't know, maybe Nelson, you'll tell me how familiar are you with Airtable? Like how quickly can I go here? And Adam, same thing for you. And Marianne, how familiar are you guys with Airtable as I start building this? So maybe I'll go a little slower. So let's close these blocks. So, once you get into Airtable, it kind of looks like your, Google Sheets, but it's so much more. And as I'm building the Airtable, or the base, I should say, you're going to kind of get an idea of how much better it is. So the first thing we need to do is kind of think of every field or every point of information we need about each one of our attendees. So I kind of went ahead and filled out a few that are obvious. First name, last name, we want their email. And the first distinction you'll see with Airtable with, other spreadsheet software is that you actually have to pick the type of data you put in before you create the column. And this makes it so that it actually knows what kind of data you're going to put in, and it makes it much more malleable. And you'll see that when we get to the form functionality. So we want that attendee's email, and the field type is going to be email. And this is probably, one of the first fields we want to fill in. So we're going to put it at the start. So email, first name, last name, and, oh, hey, Deborah. How are you? That's awesome. So maybe this will go a little slowly for you, but we'll get into some more advanced stuff later. So email, first name, last name. Maybe we're going to be serving food during this event. So let's say, do you have any dietary restrictions? Or actually, I should say, what kind of meal type do you want? So we're going to go a single select. And you can just kind of already see the beauty of Airtable just from how much better it looks than a Google Sheet. You have kind of a drop down that has colors and it makes sense. So let's say you want the vegetarian option, I don't know, meat, and then kosher, let's say. That's halal, sure, let's do that. So first name, last name, let's do, how did you hear about us? If you have any ideas of what kind of event, I don't know if maybe I'll look to Adam, who organizes way more events than I do, what kind of event we should be doing. Just the only rule is we're not going to do a wedding, because I tried to do a wedding in Airtable and there's too much pressure. You can't fail at weddings. So anything that's not a wedding, if you have a suggestion of what kind of event we should do, let me know in the chat and I'll try to adapt it in like 30 seconds when I see it. So how did you hear about us? Let's call this multi-select, right? So that user can say, I've heard from multiple sources. Let's say, newspaper. Why not? People still do that. Internet, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know. Let's do word of mouth. All right. So email, first name, last name, how many tickets, right? So how many tickets, and this is going to be a number field. Again, just the intuitiveness of this integer. We don't allow negative numbers. So that's no. There we go. All right, let's actually put this right here. I think for now, unless you guys have an event that you'd like for me to do, let's kind of keep it at just these simple fields, and later we're going to be able to add if we want to do different events, right? So, all right, so we have created our Airtable base. Okay, day-long conference, that's good. How would, maybe in that case, like Deborah, let's do this. Instead of meal type, let's do, what talks. So let's say talks, and then that person coming in can say what talks they're interested in. So let's say you have a day-long conference, you can see, maybe 4 or 5 talks, and we're going to call them. Let's actually, let's do a no code. Let's do a no code conference. Like, what talks are you interested in? So let's call this a multi-select. So let's say you can hear Nelson speak, Nelson live stream websites, and then let's say you can have Aron build no code apps. Let's say, let's have Deborah. I don't know what Deborah does, but let's say Deborah, live coding. I don't know what kind of conference this is building us, but that's okay. Let's say Airtable, live stream, Zapier. Ultimately, the goal is not necessarily that our event works, but that we kind of learn how Airtable works. So let's put this right here. Okay, so this kind of gives us a skeleton. So I'm going to go ahead and fill one out. And you'll notice I'm purposefully not filling in the first column. And I'll kind of speak to that a little later, because the column on the first column is actually kind of our key or search. And there's one point where it kind of comes in when we're going to be talking about how people check in. So I'm actually gonna leave it there. So email, first name, my name is Aron. Last name is Korenblit. How many tickets? I just want 1. Talks I'm interested in. Here we go. So obviously I'm gonna go see Nelson. I don't need to say that I'm interested in the Airtable. There we go. And how did I hear about this? Let's say YouTube, Facebook. And this actually reminds me, let's do checked in. It's gonna be a checkbox. Oops, yes, I want to save that. All right. Luke, welcome. Let me know if I'm going too fast, too slow. I'm trying to do this within an hour 15. And at the end, if there's some things left over, that Notion doc, I'm going to keep working on this no-code application, and I'm happy to share you guys the end product. I just don't want to keep you guys here for hours. Awesome. So, so far, Airtable kind of feels like Google Sheets, just a little nicer. But it's really so much more than that. So we're to go ahead and just kind of delete these things. So we have our database where we're going to add every single attendee. And this is, the moment where magic happens in Airtable. So this, so far it's just Google Sheets. But if we go and change the view, what a view is a different way of looking at our data. So it's going to be the exact same information that we have, but it just this much more convenient way of looking at that information based on what type of information we have in our database. So that's just a long way of saying, like, let's go to form view. So what this does is that it automatically creates a form. Actually, I had one right there. Let's go this. And what Airtable does is that say, hey, let's look at this data in a form. And then you can put that form anywhere on the web. You can email it to people. And anytime someone fills out this information, all of the data that goes in is in your base. So actually, while I'm here, rename this. Let's call it the day-long event. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and customize this form. And this is what we're going to put into our website so that when someone comes to our events website, they want to sign up to an event, we're going to pull up this form, they're going to fill it out, and that data goes to Airtable. So all of that, is just going to be one fell swoop, and it's going to be, pretty impressive and pretty amazing. Let's move this. You guys are cut off. All right. So let me know if I'm going too fast, too slow, if this makes sense, if it doesn't. So form. So we're going to say sign up, registration for no code conference. Add a logo. Let's see if I have a logo somewhere here. I do not. So, fill out this form to register for our no code conference. Nelson, it's not going to be as nice as the no code website just yet, but there's a lot we can do here. So yeah, first name, actually we have a name here, so I'm actually gonna remove this. So this is our key. Right now we're not using it, and I will change it later. What I can just do is drag and pull it out. And that means this form won't fill in this information. So we've got first name, last name, and then we wanna say email. We can put it first, actually, email. And we wanna make this required. We definitely wanna make the first name required. Last name is also required, there we go. And then how many tickets do you want? Great, so, great. How did you hear about us? Talks. So this one, you know, let's kind of give it a, how many tickets? How many tickets would you like? Each ticket is free, but space is limited. So this is a description, there we go. Talks, so what talks would you be interested in? You know, an official agenda, does that make sense? I don't think so, but it'll make sense now. Official agenda will be sent before the event. All right. This seems fine. I don't want Airtable branding. So I actually have the pro version of Airtable, which, you know, obviously. We'll kind of do this after we've embedded the form into Webflow. All right, so we've got our form. Let's actually look at what this looks like. So this gives us a URL. So if you ever wanted to email this to someone and kind of have information, you know, if you're just inviting friends or whatever, that URL works perfectly. And this, we have our form. So now, you know, let's go ahead and do a test. So I'm gonna call test@gmail.com. My name is Aron Kornblit. Select an option, say YouTube. I want one ticket. I wanna see this, I wanna see that. Submit. Thank you for registration. And then if I go into the grid view, I've got the second attendee. So just like that, we've built a database, we've built a form, and we're going to be able to add this form to Webflow. All right, so with that, boom, we have created our form view. So that really is all we need to set up in Airtable to be able to create our Eventbrite no code conference registration. Have I lost anyone? How are we doing? I don't know if you guys have all snoozed, but I'm gonna keep pushing here. All right, so Webflow. This is my, you know, automate all the things website. I've created a page to kind of host our events. So not sure how familiar everyone is with Webflow. I feel like most of you are coming from the Webflow group, but let me know how familiar you are and I'll kind of adjust how quickly I can go. Personally, I'm not super familiar with Webflow. I think I've been working with it maybe for 6 to 7 months maybe. Luke, so do you have to use this form or can you style in Webflow? So I'm going to interpret that as, can you use the Webflow form? You can. If you do use the Webflow form functionality, you can use something like Zapier, which we'll use in a bit, to send the data from Webflow into Airtable. All right. If you mean styling the form itself, I don't think that would be possible. You could probably add some custom CSS to the page. But I do think it's an iframe. So I'm not sure how much you're able to style the Zapier form, the Airtable form in Webflow. So really it's either you build it custom and then send the data into Airtable using Zapier, or kind of keep it as is. And there's a lot of functionality I didn't use. Mainly you can, if we go back here to the form, you can add a header, a cover image, you can add a logo. So you can actually make this form look pretty good. So Deborah, just what Webflow is, it's kind of the Airtable for websites. So it allows you without code to build beautiful websites. And when I mean beautiful, I can give you an example. Like this my website, Automate All the Things, is built fully on Webflow without a single line of code. And I personally think it's very beautiful. Hopefully you guys agree. So it's just a phenomenal tool for building websites, and just really give you the full flexibility of build the most amazing website without hiring 6 or 7 developers. So back into it here. Got my live stream event management. So I started really quickly just for the skeleton of what we want to do. So we've got our header and we've got our events. So what we want to do is make this kind of our event list, our upcoming event list. I'm going to keep it relatively simple just for now. Like, I'm not going to do past versus future. I can do that later. I'm not going to style this excessively. We really want to get to the functionality. And then depending on how much time we've spent and your kind of focus and where you guys are, I can continue and style it. And then that's where Nelson will come in and tell me every error that I'm doing of not making my website great. Nareg asks, does Webflow compete with Wix or Squarespace? To a certain extent, yes. On the lower end, I would say this is really, it enables building amazing websites. It uses the language of the web. So what that means is you can talk about CSS, you can talk about triggers and animation without knowing the underlying code. So I would say it's between a Wix Squarespace, which is very basic, and full-on development. So I think, Luke, that's a great point where it is targeted towards designers who understand the fundamentals of the web and just don't want to spend as much time coding and just still create just superb websites. And with a bunch of functionality, like what I'll show you today, I think hopefully will kind of give you an idea of what's possible. So coming back to it, the first thing we're going to do is just one event. We're going to embed our form. We're going to make this sign up possible. And then we're going to kind of work towards, can we create a page with multiple events and multiple forms associated to them? So I've got my little navigator. I've got an event, which is a link, an image, which is probably going to be the thumbnail of our event. And let's say this is going to be no code conference. Come meet the greatest and bestest no coders in San Francisco in November. I don't remember exactly the date, but here we go. Note to self: next time, prepare some better filler content. So happening, November 11th to 13th. Okay. So what we want this to do is when a user comes to this page, clicks on the no code conference, we're going to pull up a page, and that page is going to be our form. So we're instantly going to go to the sign up. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create another page, and all that page is going to be is our form. So I need to create a page in Webflow so that page has a URL, so it has somewhere to live. And then all I'm going to do is just take the Airtable form and fill it in. We're going to make this better in about 5 minutes, but I just want to give you the functionality. So I'm going to create a new page. Create a new page. Here we go. And we're going to call this page sign up. There we go. Parent folder is going to be live stream. Whoops, sorry about that. Live stream. Here we go. Create empty page. And all I'm going to do is, where's the embed? There we go. Embed, Great. So we're just going to embed the custom code that comes from Airtable. So I'm going to come back here. There's share form. Embed this form on your website. So we're just going to copy paste this code. I want to auto size the height. Actually, no, I don't. Let's try it without, and then we'll come back to it. Great. So it gives you examples of what it's going to look like. And also in Webflow, for people who are a little more familiar, you can embed it into a div or a container or whatever, and so that it actually forms to your page. So if we go back to what we wanted to build here, you can embed your form on the side here so that user can see the information on the left. I'm pointing to a screen that you don't see. So you can see the information on the left and have the form on the right. So that's also possible. So you just create a div, you embed the HTML, and it'll take the size of that div. All right, so we just copy paste that code, save and close, and there we have our form. So let me just go publish this to see what it looks like. Now I think I should have set the height. Yeah, so this kind of, you can see there's a little, one of these things, so this doesn't look really great. So let's come back here. Let's go like that. It just gives it a width 100. There we go. Let's come back here. Let's change this. All right, save and close. So this is a script, so it'll only actually show when we, oops, sorry about that. There we go. Let's deploy. And just the fact that you can, make a change, deploy to staging and see it on a live website with Webflow is just, it's just always amazing. So let's refresh this. All right, so we have our form, and we're 80% of the way there. So here we go. Let's come back here. So what we want to do here is actually bind, this whole event link to that page. So when a user comes and hovers over and clicks, it actually brings them to the sign up. So let's do that. So we want to do there, choose a page. We're going to go to our sign up. Simple as that. So let's publish this. I'm sorry, I just have to keep moving this chat thing. Are we good? Are we following me in the chat? How are we feeling? Are we impressed with what we've been able to do so far in 25 minutes? Or so let me come back here. Oops, that didn't work. Oh, I gotta do the event management. All right, so let's just go right here. Let's try to be fancy. That'll teach me. All right, now we have our kind of hover, no code conference. I click on it. It brings me to sign up. Let's see if this works. Let's see. There we go. And first name is Aron. So many people named Aron at this conference. It's crazy. It's gonna be a terrible conference. I want 2 tickets. Boom. Gonna go, thank you for submitting the form. We come here and boom, like magic. This is the third time. So we've got test. There we go. All right, Marianne is impressed. Marianne's hard to impress, so I'm pretty happy. All right, so we now are at a point where we have a page where that user can go to that page, an attendee can click on it, can then go to a form, sign up. That information is then sent to Airtable. So we've got right there. Actually, I wanted to do this way. So at this point, I can kind of do 2 things. I can show you how you can manage potentially multiple events from the same Airtable, right? So imagine instead of just having one event, we can have multiple events in Webflow and in Airtable, so that a user can click on, maybe they want to go to the no code conference, but maybe there's a code conference 2 months later and it's more interesting to them. They can click on that, fill out a similar form, data goes to Airtable, and then we can from there manage those multiple events from the same form. Or I can kind of jump into automations. So what I mean by that is sending welcome emails, creating assigning different people to different groups automatically within Airtable, and just generally like emailing participants. So let's say you have a subset of participants, let's say table 2 or table 3, you want to email, you're able to do that. So I'm just going to have a glass of water and you guys tell me whether you prefer managing multiple events or if we kind of jump into the automation part. And if we do jump into the multiple events, I can kind of do some of the automations at the end. No preferences? Or maybe you guys aren't at the lag yet. It's kind of hard to just wait for an answer. All right. Well, maybe we're not at the point where you guys are hearing this, but we're going to go ahead and... Oh, we got Deborah. All info is good info. Okay, great. That's awesome. So let's kind of just go with my roadmap. So this might be a little more difficult. We're going to jump into Webflow CMS. Automation. Okay, damn. This is going to be tough. So let's just set up one Webflow CMS. So we're going to set up one event with the Webflow CMS, and then we're going to jump into automation. So I won't do multiple events. All right. All right. So we have 3 people with 3 different opinions. So I'm gonna try to do this. This was the risk of doing this. So, okay, let me just at least show you the CMS, show you the automation, and then we're going to jump back into multiple events. So CMS, essentially what a CMS is a way of adding information into Webflow, which will then be shown onto a page in a repetitive fashion. So when you think about it, you can have blog posts. Blog posts have an image at the top, they have text, and you have multiple blog posts. So you want a page where you're showing all of your blog posts. This is, in this analogy, going to be our events page. And then you want kind of template pages where each blog has all of the information. So the CMS is a way of putting all that blog information, the header, the content, into Webflow. And then Webflow will say, oh, well, we're going to put for each one of those CMS items, we're going to create a page with that blog information on it. So coming back to our analogy, we have a events page. So if we have 2 events, we're going to have, each event shown on the events page. And when a user clicks on one of those events, our template page is going to be the Airtable form. So we're going to create multiple forms. We're actually going to create one form, but with multiple inputs. And that way we can have an events page, multiple events, one Airtable. Cool. So let's start with just creating a CMS item with this information. So I'm going to go here. You can see I already have a few CMSs, and if you guys are feeling a little lost at this point, let me know, and I can show you an example of how I use CMS for my online class. So create a new collection. We're going to call this events. Great. So it's going to live on events/events page. That's fine. We'll just copy paste the information that we already have into that. And here, what we want to put is each piece of information that's going to be found in each one of our events. So if I come here, I want to save this. I have a title, I have an image, I have a subtitle, and I have a date. Those are the only things we're going to do for today. But you can imagine much more than that. You can imagine it's got, you know, a color, or I actually don't know. I don't manage events, but you can have much more. You can have a longer description, right? So when we go into right here, there's this long description. There's the location, you know, who sponsors, different links for that event. All of this is an item into the CMS, or is a variable that you put into each CMS item. Great. Okay. So I'm sorry. Seems like I'm not losing people, which is great. Maybe I've lost Nelson a while ago. This is too basic for him. So let's go back into events. So nope, I don't want to generate. I want to kind of come back here. Whoops. Events. Okay, just give me 5 items. That's fine. So we're going to change this. So the first thing is we want to. What is the name of the event? So that's going to be our big header at the top. So name of the event. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna, save changes. That's great. Select field type. So the second one is the subheader. It's going to be the information that we put under each one of our events, plain text. So we're going to have subheader. And it's going to be, you know, describe quickly what the event is. Best practices always have help text, because you don't feel like it's important when you have, you know, 2 or 3 variables, but then you end up having 50 or whatever, and then you're like, I don't remember what this variable is. So always have help text. Don't look at my CMS items because I don't have help text. I don't follow my own advice. Great. Subheader, and then we have date. So date time, so date. We're gonna have actually a start date, because we have 2 dates. We have a start date and then we have an end date. This is self-explanatory. I don't need help text. I'm gonna follow my advice. This is the start date of the event. Great. Save. And then date time, we have an end date of the event. That's great. Add field, we're gonna have the header. So this is gonna be, not the header, I mean the image. So event image, I guess that's terrible label. I'm sorry. Naming variables is really hard. So it's gonna be event image. And this is quite self-explanatory. Let's save that. Okay, with this, we kind of can recreate our events page. So let's save this collection, and I just want to fill out one. So let's just do 2. We're gonna delete. Okay, and let's go ahead. So these are our CMS items. So we've just created a CMS, a content management system, and each one of our events is an item into our CMS. So let's go ahead and have one of our items replicate what we currently have. So let me just remember what we currently have. So no code conference that I can remember. Commit the greatest. I'm going to copy that. Let's go into here. Let's edit this. So name of the event is no code conference. Let's call this no code conference. No code conference. That's fine. Subheader, come meet the greatest and bestest no coders in San Francisco in November. Start date, we said November 11th. End date is going to be November 13th. Event image. I should really just get an image. I don't have any images. I don't. I just changed my computer to come here to do this. So let's just let's just put this image so we at least have one. It's this image from my stream. Great. Let's save that. And then we'll do the other one once we adapt the form. Okay, this doesn't change anything because, well, we haven't linked this page to our CMS. So what that means is now we have the data in Webflow. We need to have a page that says, hey, please put the data you have in this CMS or for all of the items into this page. So now we're going to add a new CMS collection. So let's do that. So collection list. Yep, like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the collection item and I'm just going to move what we currently have into that collection item, right? So let's just move this. And I remember I did this yesterday. Now it seems to be not letting me do it. So let's move this. Whoops. All right, I need to connect it to a CMS source. It's going to be events. There we go. Great. And then let's do that. There we go. Okay. So it broke, right? Because I don't have the container. There we go. Boom. Almost there. Where's this image? Why isn't this image here? It should be like that. All right. So now we have two collection items. We're still not linked to our CMS. It still doesn't understand. It knows that there's going to be two items. It knows that there's going to be two sections or two events because we have two events in our CMS, but we haven't linked each one of the items to what's in our CMS. So let's go ahead and do that and say, hey, the image is called image. That's why you need intuitive variable names, and that's why I'm not very good at this. So first thing, image, we're going to say get image from events. So that means go get this image from the data we have in Webflow, event image. Now I'm just going to resize this just tiny, maybe, no, let's do. Oh man, this is bad. Oh, that looks terrible. Oh, a little better. Eesh, it's not looking good, but you get the point, right? We get the point. I really should have had images ready. Next, heading, same thing we're gonna get from the name of the conference, right? So we're saying put the name as a header, right? So this doesn't change because it's no code conference, but you can see in the one where, you know what? I'm just gonna remove this image. It's ugly. We don't want it. Let's just do that. There we go. Done. And we're it's not going to look great, but it's not going to be ugly either. There we go. Get text from events. So what we're saying is that the little subheader should come from the CMS as well. Subheader. And then here we actually want we want a start date and then an end date. So let's create another div block here, and then we're going to put the text here, and then we got to put this one as a flex align left. I think this should work. Yeah, okay. So the first text block should be the start date, right? And then let's put a little padding, just maybe 10 pixels. And then let's have another text block, which is going to be our end date. All right, you can change the date format in the CMS. So now we have our two events, right? So we have this one, and then we have this one as well. So we have our two events. This one for some reason isn't. Yeah, okay. And then what we want to link to, we haven't said. So this is always going to link to collection page, current event, right? So what Webflow does is for each CMS item, or for each CMS item, it creates a page, and we can go edit that page in the template page. So what we're going to do for now is just for both of these events, we're going to go ahead and just link to the standard Webflow Airtable form, right? And okay, so let's do that. So we go to the events template, and we just want to, what we want to do for now is just have the form. So we're going to do the exact same thing we had before. We're going to do the embed, and we're going to go get, I can close this, go to our form view, share form, get the URL. Actually, no, I want the embed code. Embed this form on your website, right? Okay. Great. No, I want the 100% width, auto size width. Okay. So let's publish this. And next thing, just so we're kind of wrapping this up, a little nicely, let's go ahead and create the second event. So let me come here. Let me call this Code Conference. The best coders in the West. Start date 30th. There you go. And we're not going to put an image. Boom. We come back here. We go to our event management. We've got a no code conference and we've got a code conference. Boom. 2 conferences, 1 website, 1 Airtable. This is great. All right. So how are we doing so far? Right? Are we doing good? Am I going too quickly, too slowly? Let me know. Is this what you expected? A little different? I'm gonna go ahead and publish this. So let's see what this does. I'm gonna go to my conference here. First, no code conference. It brings me to the Airtable form. That's exactly what we expected. I hope that's what you expected. If you did expect that, that means I'm doing okay. If you didn't, let me know in the chat, and I'm going to explain why we ended up on that Airtable form. Same thing for the other one. So if I come here, Airtable form. So we haven't changed this form. We're going to have to actually create a new table for the second form, and then we're just going to change a little bit of the information to get this to work. But for now, we're just making sure that this works. So where we are right now, after 40-ish minutes, we have a page with our upcoming events, and we have a form for each one. So let me just show you what it does again. Plus nocode@gmail.com. First name Aron, Cornblit. There we go. Newspaper, sure. I want 2 tickets. Select the option. Submit. Boom. Come here. I've got my attendees. So just gonna take a sip of water. 30 seconds is a long time. So let me know how we're doing. Lost, not lost, what you expected, not really. We're gonna probably go for maybe 20, 25 more minutes. I'm just gonna go into my Notion. Where are we now? Okay, so we've done set up Webflow CMS. We've linked Webflow. Because we have multiple events, I'm gonna add a little to-do list here, which is multiple events. And then I think we're gonna probably get here. And then, I'll work a little bit on this and just share with everyone who's come what this could look like with, the automations and looking good and everything. So with that, let me know how it's going. Also, while I'm doing the next section, I'd love to know, how you heard about this live stream. You know, was it from the Udemy course? Was it from the Airtable group? Was it from Webflow? Great, we've got Terry, not lost at all. That's awesome. That's really exciting. I think I do remember you from the Airtable course, so that's great. Thanks, Terry. Thanks for joining. Okay, I'm gonna keep going, and I'll refer to the chat as your kind of answers come in. So I'm gonna leave this over here. Cool. So we're gonna call this the No Code Conference, and then I'm gonna duplicate this table just for now, just so we save some time, and we're gonna call it the Code Conference, right? And then just change this to registration for Code Conference. And really, I'm not gonna, make a lot of changes here. Just maybe we can change the talks because they're going to be, code related talks. So let's just change this just so we're, JavaScript, CSS, HTML. I don't know why there would be an HTML one, but sure, why not? Go, Node. I'm just writing every single coding language that I know. Python. There we go. Okay. Awesome. Save. Okay. So what we want to do now is we have the No Code Conference, and then we have the Code Conference. This is going to get just maybe a little bit technical, and I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to do this. I think I'm going to be able to do this. I really hope I'm able to do this. Is what we want to do on our template page is based on the event, change what form we embed, right? And so let's look at the code that's provided. So share form, embed this form, and I'm gonna open up the other one as well, right? Share form, embed this form. Great. So auto size height, we said that's important. And we said here, auto size height is important. Great. So you'll notice that the only difference between this code, and when I say you'll notice, you're probably not going to notice this right now. Like go to Airtable, look at the code. If you look at any code from any Airtable form, the difference is going to be this right here, right? So this says SHR, and this one has SHRJ. So when we think of we need to embed a different form for different events, really the only thing that what changes is the URL that we are embedding. So what we can do, remember how Webflow thinks of variables is that each CMS item has variables within it. So for each event, CMS item, we could specify a different URL, which we'll put into the code. So that if I go to the Code Conference, it's going to show up this form. It's going to show this form. And then if I go to the No Code Conference, it's going to go the other one. And the only thing we need to tell it to change is change this right here. So we're going to put this information into the CMS in Webflow as a variable. And then we're going to tell Webflow that this is a variable and that they should change the form based on the event. All right? This should work. I'm like 60% sure this should work. Because I have embedded a variable into the code in Webflow before. So we're not using custom code. This is still no code because we're not actually writing our own code. But this is maybe a little bit on the code-y side, if you will. So boom, let's come here. So what we said we're going to do is go into events. We're going to change the CMS. We're going to add a field. I'm actually going to, let's call it this. I think plain text should work. Let's call this the embed form link. So although I'm going to go and get the whole thing, right? So this is going to be, actually, I'm going to take this whole thing right here. Everything between the two little apostrophes, I think those are called apostrophes. So this is going to be embed form URL found in Airtable code, embed code. Eesh, that does not help. Airtable form URL, just URL is better. Found in Airtable embed code. Yeah, it's not a great help text. I'm sorry. I work on this alone, so this is fine for me, but if someone fell on this, they'd be angry, rightfully so. Save field, great. All right, next. So yeah, I want to fill out this information. Yeah, I want to save the changes. So I want to come here. So no code conference, we come here. This is the no code conference. We take this and we put it into the short text embed form link. There we go. Maybe this will work if it's a URL. I'm not sure. Let's take a risk here. We're doing it live. Save, and then this one, yeah, I want to save the changes. Come here, let's grab the same thing. So you notice that this is what's changing, but I'm taking the whole URL because I want to take everything that's between these two little dots. There we go. Save. Okay, so this affects it doesn't affect anything right now, but what we want it to affect is the template page. The template page is where you go when you click on the event, and then it generates the form because it embeds the form into Webflow. So let's go into right here. So this is CMS collection pages. So this is what I'm calling template pages, events template, and then HTML embed. Oof, it doesn't even. Sorry, I'm gonna find that URL. That's its source. Right here we go. There's another one. Great. So remember what is right here. You weren't expecting code on this one, were you? I'm sorry. This is the URL. So SHRU is the no code conference right here. SHRU. And we want to say, well, this is now a variable. So I'm going to remove this and I'm going to add a field. And it's going to be, where is it? Embed form link. Okay, well, it's put it at the end. So I'm going to just cut that. So I'm going to find that SRC again, the second one, and then I'm going to put it right between the two. Boom. So what this says is that if you're coming from the no code event, embed the link from the no code form. If you're coming from the code event, embed the code event link. Man, as I was saying that lost all meaning, but hopefully that the structure of the sentence got me to it. So just tell me if this makes sense. I know this might be a little too simple, a little too complicated for certain. So just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions in like 30 seconds. So save and close. Let's do that. Let's publish. So we're publishing to our staging server. Thank you, Webflow, for making this possible. Boom. Sign up. No, sorry, I want to go to the event management. So I want to kind of see if this works. So let's go here. All right, I've got my no code conference. You see when I hover over at the bottom left, it links to /no code conference. When I go to code conference, it goes to / Latin words because that was the name of our CMS item initially. So what we hope to happen here is when I click on no code conference, it brings me to the right form. If I click on code, so, without further ado, no code conference, registration for no code conference. That makes sense. That's great. It seems to work. If we go back, code conference, boom. So it brings us to the correct registration form. So that means you can have 10 tables, 10 different events, 10 different forms, and you just need one CMS collection in Webflow. And then all you need to change is that little piece and it'll redirect to the right one. So let's kind of, make sure, every time I do this, I have such trust in Airtable that it's going to work. So that's great. Plus code@gmail.com, Aron. How did you hear about us? Sure, let's just fill this out. 2 tickets, select this option, go, submit. Boom. Code conference. Let's go back to the grid view. Let's call this attendees, actually. And I've got my first code conference attendee. I'm going to take a sip of water in celebration of what we've accomplished. So I'm happy that it was possible. So yeah, let me know if how this is going. Seems like you guys are pros. I'm over worried. So this is great. All right, let's go back to our roadmap here. Multiple events, boom. So actually I'm gonna change this to link to different form for multiple events. Okay, so I think in the next 15 minutes we can kind of do these 3, hopefully, if all goes well, and then actually make this beautiful. I will leave to another time. So Zapier welcome email. Okay, so you've gone to this page, you filled out the form, you get, like, if you don't get anything as a user, I've just given you my email and I don't get like a validation email or anything, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's weird, I'm gonna go fill that out again, right? And if you give something as a user, you expect something back, and if I've signed up for an event, what I want back is like, well, am I going to this event, right? So we're gonna create a little welcome email with Zapier. The reason I'm using Zapier is it's just the easiest thing to use. It's not the best thing, and it'll kind of give you an idea of what we can do in Zapier. And then we'll assign people to tables, and then we'll email participants to tell them what table they're in. And I think we'll kind of finish it there for today. So Zapier welcome email. I'm gonna just close all these tabs. I'm a tab hoarder. So third tool, we've done Airtable, we've done Webflow. We're going to do a little bit of Zapier. Let me know in the chat how you feel about Zapier or Zapier. Familiar or not familiar, hate it, love it, let me know. And I'll get to it in 30 seconds. Next live stream is going to be a little, no delay. Okay, so we want to make a new Zap. So I'm here in Zapier, and I want to just kind of background for those who are maybe not familiar with Zapier. What Zapier does is takes information from one application and sends it to another. So we're going to take our Airtable data, and then we're going to send it to Zapier's email application. So they have an in-house email application that you can use just to send mainly transactional emails to say, hey, we've received your email. And you alternatively, instead of using Zapier Mail, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but you can also send your data to MailChimp, send your data to Intercom, HubSpot, whatever you want. Oh, great. Deborah is super familiar with Zapier, so that's great. So I'll move up. If someone's not familiar, just let me know and I'll slow down. So make a Zap. Boom. So it's always a trigger and an action. So trigger is data going into an application. In our case, it's going to be Airtable, and then we trigger an action, which is going to be in our case an email, but it could be, an action could be create a new user in MailChimp or whatever. So Nareg, Zapier and if this then that, I haven't used it in maybe 3-4 years, honestly, just because I love Zapier. I think if this then that is a little more geared toward consumers. So, post an image on Facebook and then post it on Instagram or post it on wherever else. And let me know if I'm wrong about this in the chat. Someone's a little more familiar with if this then that. Zapier just has thousands and thousands and thousands of applications that they connect to, mainly B2B applications. And so I've always been a fan of Zapier. If you've used if this and that, let me know. Cool. So back to it. We want to do Airtable, and then the trigger. Sorry, I had a little freeze moment there. New record triggers when a new record is available. I was like, why is it asking me to create a record? That's not what I want. So when new record means someone's filled out the form. New form means new record, means that's what we want to send an email. Great. So I have a lot of Airtables. I think this is the one, hopefully. Base, it's going to be events. Yeah, boom. Table. So we're going to have to create one for each one, but I'm only going to do the no code conference just for time's sake. So essentially now it's looking at records that were recently created. So I have a sample. So our trigger is going to be a new record in Airtable, and then boom. So this is Aron Carelet no code. So if I come back here and I go to my no code conference, boom, it's the latest one. So this is the record that we're looking at, right? So no code, yeah, let's use this as a test. So this is going to use this record as an example. So next step, we're going to do an action. So trigger, new record, action, send email. So mail. As you can see, there are a lot of mail options, but I want Zapier, email by Zapier. Send outbound email. That's what we want to do when a new record is creating. Yeah, no problem, Nareg. If you have any other questions, let me know. So that user filled out the form, gave us their email. So we have their email, so we can pull it up from step one. So from the new record, I have that user's email. So this is a variable we can input from step one, subject. So welcome to the no code conference, or does that make sense? Welcome to the new code. Shouldn't it be like, thanks for registering? Or you're now welcome is fine. So hey, and then we're gonna go first name. So it's got some personalization. Doesn't look like a robot sent it, but a robot did send it. Hey Aron, thanks for registering for the no code conference. We're so excited to have you here, to have you join us. Not here because it's not right now. And that's fine. Best no code conference. Great. From name, so we're going to say no code conference. Reply to, it's going to be reply to my own email. Actually, it should just use my own email, so that's fine. There we go. Continue. Okay, so this email should be sent as an example. So it's telling me that a new email was sent. Let me just pull up my emails to make sure, and I might have some sensitive information, so I'm just gonna. Let's go here, and let me just. I think I had fixed this before. To attachment. That's weird. Okay. Oh, I might have a filter on. Okay. I'm gonna try my work email and see if that works. Okay, continue. Finish. So we're gonna say this is the welcome email, no code conference. That's a good name. That's a good name. Save. All right. So let's come here. Let's go to no code conference. I've got my form. My email is aaron+test@locallogic.co. That's where I work. First name Aron, last name Cornwall. How did you hear about us? Doesn't matter. I would like one ticket. You really get fed up of filling out forms when you're testing things out. Okay. Now I'm gonna actually look on my phone to see if I've received it. Let's go this like this. So I'm here. This is on. Let's go task history. Okay. Okay, so oh, it maybe just didn't run. So let's go back to my zaps. And then I have automate all the things. And then let me just run this. Okay, there we go. It says it's sent the outbound email. Okay, let's check what the task history is here. So I'm just debugging. Okay. This is weird. I'm not receiving it. Did I receive it in my personal email? Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. It just took a little bit of time. Sorry about that. So I'm just impatient is what I am. I actually received both. So let me just, I'm actually gonna pull it up. So let me. Back to the main view. And there you have it. So a very basic email just says, Aron, thanks for registering to the No Code conference. We're so excited that you join us, best no code. It's sent from Zapier Mail, right? So there's a limit. I think it's a couple hundred a day. This is not meant for huge things. It's just more for just, hey, I just want a quick email to say, hey, this worked. So that's the functionality. User fills out the form. It goes into Airtable. We send a quick email to say, hey, you're now part of the conference. You can see other use cases for this, like newsletter subscription or transactional email or things like that. And what's great is that if you're pulling information from one application, in this case Airtable, you can put that information to the email, right? So we put their first name. We can also say, hey, you now have 4 tickets. You know, here is the information that we have about you. You have vegetarian option, whatever. All of that becomes available. Nareg kind of answers your difference. I don't think you can do this with if this then that, but maybe. So that's what I wanted to show you. There we go. Next. All right, so Zapier welcome email assigning to tables. Okay, so imagine this comes from kind of our idea of we want different users to be assigned to different tables randomly or semi-randomly, not actually randomly. And then we want to email those people to say, hey, you are part of table X. And you can say, imagine someone says, hey, I want to go to these talks, and then you assign people to talks. Well, with this email, you're going to be able to say, here are the talks where you have space. Hundreds of use cases. Happy to kind of hear from you guys. So always let me know how it's going in the chat. You know, is this what you expected? Does this make sense? Any kind of improvements you would like to see? We have about 5, max 10 minutes. I know it's been a little while. So let's quickly wrap this up. So boom, 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 events. So what we want to do is just assign a table. Right? Let's create, chat's in the way, how's that? A table. And this is going to be a formula field. What we're going to do is that the first person gets assigned to table number 1, second table number 2, 3, and then back to 1. Right? So actually, I'm just going to do an empty formula for now. Just because I do need to do one more thing. Okay. And then we're going to do a record count. So this is going to tell me this is your first record created, second record, third, fourth, fifth, so on and so forth. So this is going to be a record number. And then there's a number, auto number. Right, so this just numbers all of your records from 1 to whatever. It actually just replicates this number right here. And you know, we're going to hide that field because it's really not, actually we'll do it in a minute. So customize field type. What we want to do is do a modular. And what a modular is, it just takes the remainder. So if you divide 1 by 3, that's 3 times 0 plus 1, so it's going to return 1. If you do 4 modular 3, it's going to return 1. So there's 1, 3 plus 1, and that's how we're going to assign the tables. It'll make a little more sense once I fill out the record number, and then if we want 3 tables, we're going to do this. Boom. What we want to do is plus 1. Right. There we go. So no one's at table 0. So first person is at table 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So with very simple modular function in Airtable, we were able to assign people to tables. So boom, love checking things off a list. If you're not familiar with Notion, this is what I'm using for kind of my roadmap. Notion is great. Maybe do another live stream on Notion specifically. All right, so email participants. Those are our last herald here. So we're going to use the Sendgrid block. Sendgrid is one of those email providers mainly aimed at developers, but does have a block within Airtable. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to email people to say, hey, you have been assigned, hey, Aron, or hey, first name, you have been assigned to table X. Right, so you can think of this as a way of communicating different information that you have in your table to your users directly from Airtable. So just let's make this a little larger. So Sendgrid will allow us to send emails to people in our table. I think it's 100 a day you can do on the freemium version. So really simple. So the table, no code conference, the view, we only have one grid view. If you want to limit the list, you can create different views. So 2, we're going to do email, CC none, BCC none, subject. You have been assigned to table, 3 little dots so they open the email. That really gets your open rates way up. Hi, and then we can do little first name. It's a little crappy that it doesn't autocomplete. So hopefully this is the right way of writing that. You have been assigned to table, and then I think I called it table. I can't see. That is a great table to be assigned to. The best table, if you ask me. Best no code conference. Okay, let's preview this email. All right, so it actually shows us for each record what it looks like, so we're actually able to test. So hey Aron, that's my first name, so it actually autocompletes. Great. You have been assigned to table 2. Great. That is a great table to be assigned to. You only receive one of these, so you won't know that every table is a great table to be assigned to. So I'm not actually going to send, because then I just receive 10 emails. But if you just click send here, your attendees are going to get the email. So that's one way of, or the way in Airtable to send an email to different attendees. So with that, email participants, I'm kind of open to suggestions, but I'm going to keep working on this at a later date. So what I would have loved to do is create a type form instead of Airtable. So type form is this conversational form that is more friendly, is more beautiful, and we could have used it instead of Airtable, then sent the data from Typeform to Airtable with Zapier. So these are the 3 steps had we wanted to do that. I wanted to make the events page much more beautiful. Had I known Nelson was going to join us, I would have definitely done that before, because this is a little, my events page is a little embarrassing, but it fits the purpose. It definitely fits the purpose. And then what I would have loved to do is created a filter in my page based on past or future events. So that's something you can do directly in Airtable with I'm just going to do here, conditional visibility. So let's say I come here and then I go events. No, actually I got to go to my events page here. Event management, settings, actually come here, and then you have conditional visibility, right? So I would have created a group and I said, if event in the future, show here. And then I would create another tab that is past. And I would have said, if event in the past, show it here. There we go. So what else did I want to do today? And then checking people in with the Airtable mobile app. So just quickly, what I would have loved to do is here, create a kind of attendee, and then we would create it would be a formula. Actually, I'll just do it now. And this would have been their record number and let's say their email. That way when they, why doesn't it work? Oh, I have one too many. It should be like this. And that way when a person comes to your event, you're able to just check them in either with their record number, so I am attendee number, blah, 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 or with their email. And so this will allow you to search all of your attendees. This goes here. There we go. Boom. So we'll keep that there. All right. I think that ends our first live stream. I'm just gonna, because of the delay, kind of awkwardly sit here. Let me know what you thought. You have my email. You have it multiple times here. I'd love to get your feedback. Useful, too long, too short, too quick. Good speed, maybe. Maybe you thought it was the right speed. Let me know. It's my first live stream. So yeah, no, it's really been great having y'all here. I really hope you enjoyed it. Learned something, learned a new tool, learned everything that's possible with no code. So yeah, let me know. Let me know if you're still in the chat. Thanks, Marianne. See you next time. See you next Wednesday. Actually, bring this here. All right. Not sure if there's still comments coming. I'm here for maybe 30 more seconds. Thanks. Okay, thanks, Ebro. Yeah, definitely a little bit more of a script. Definitely a little shorter, maybe. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Nareg. I'm happy you learned a few things. That's awesome. All right, with that, I'm gonna, close down the first stream. Thanks for joining. Hope you learned something. I will probably be here next Wednesday again. Maybe something a little cooler, a little different. So yeah, let's stay in touch, and thanks for joining Automate All the Things.